Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game. Ren here, and if you're a fan of RPGs and general discussions about the games we all know and love, then you've definitely found a friend in this channel. I post at least once a week on topics from pickup videos, new releases, to just chatting about the games that have reached hallowed status in my heart. So thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to show you my top 10 favorite RPGs for the Nintendo Switch. Such a powerhouse system. But if you don't see a game on this list that you think should be there, let me know down in the comments. I can't wait to see it. So with that, let's check it out. Number 10, Octopath Traveler. With next-generation consoles upon us, the fans of each respective console are at each other's throats, talking about which looks better, which has more frame rate, which is better resolution, and whatnot. Then there's me, thinking Octopath Traveler may in fact be one of the prettiest and most breathtaking-looking games in recent history. The music in this game is also one of my all-time favorites. On top of all this, it has a combat system that is one of the best in turn-based gaming. Such a rewarding system, storing up points for precise attacks and exploiting weaknesses, which is also a favorite mechanic of mine in the genre. It's all here, and the stories are emotionally charged. Primrose was my favorite. I really am excited about the potential this series has, and very hopeful for Octopath Traveler 2. I've mentioned before that having a Final Fantasy VI remake in this style would be a godsend. No doubt, though, that if you're a fan of sprite-based RPGs from the Super Nintendo era, then you have to do yourself a favor and play Octopath Traveler. Number 9, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore. Oh yeah! You knew as a diehard SMT fan that there was no way I would leave out Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore. This game ranks up there with Akiba's Trip as one of the craziest games I own. The story setting is over the top, and it is jam-packed full of fan service. Honestly, the game would be higher if it wasn't for Barry. I mean, honestly, is this the best America could give this game? I digress. The game's combat mechanics are a strong contender for my favorite on the list today. It takes the press turn battle system from the Persona and SMT series and kind of adopts a similar approach to what we see in like Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey, except instead of foreboding evil demons giving extra battle attacks, it's J-pop waifus and husbandos. Now this is not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination, but it does have difficulty options that make this very approachable if you're new to Persona and SMT games. Also, the soundtrack and music videos in this game are dangerously catchy. If you have a burning desire to become a J-pop star and save the world, but you just don't got the yen for a plane ticket, check this title out. Number 8, Valkyrie Chronicles 4. One of the most gut-wrenching things you can read in any type of literature are diaries, letters, and poetry from servicemen who served on the front in World War I and World War II. This game takes that atmosphere and uses it as its story foundation. Valkyrie Chronicles 4 takes the concept of World War II and looks at it from the perspective of a man with a good heart thrust into hell on earth. This game carries the same sorrowful atmosphere of short stories such as The Things They Carried, if you happen to need a good cry. The gameplay is phenomenal in this title. I am telling you that even without the incredible story and setting, this title would still be a must-play for the combat alone. It is similar in scope to an open arena tactical turn-based RPG. Whew, what a mouthful. Very unique and executed almost flawlessly. The characters are complex and experience very endearing arcs as the dialogue between them is memorable and it touched me personally. If you have not had the absolute joy of playing this title, then do yourself a solid and add this to your Switch library. That diversity in troops is complex enough to keep you interested without reaching the point of feeling very overwhelmed. Also, the voice acting and the character building moments, coupled with the very somber soundtrack, the game just leaves an emotional impact showing the horrors of war. Number 7. Trials of Mana. This is a game series that I've always been nostalgic for. The Mana series has always been a staple of sprite-based action RPG fun. So when I saw that Trials of Mana was going to be re-released, I was so incredibly excited, and I felt that the art direction and the bold move to turn it into a 3D action RPG, sign me up. I love this game, and it has such an approachable combat system. The magic and melee combat work really well, and the progression system is a blast. The visual upgrades, along with each class change, is so rewarding. You get so much bang for your buck with this title, as the game takes around 20-ish hours to complete, but you have multiple unique character storylines to play through, so replayability is very high. Getting to know each character is wonderful, and the dialogue between them is so heartwarming. This is a new game that gave me old school nostalgia feels. Love this title, and if you're a fan of action RPGs, don't miss out on this one. Number 6. Tales of Vesperia. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Yuri Lowell is one of the greatest RPG protagonists ever made. His character depth and growth break away from the typical mold of what JRPGs celebrate. I love characters that are flawed or in some way seasoned from mistakes in their past. The story arc props up all the amazing aspects of Yuri's character growth. When it comes to parties in JRPGs, Tales of Vesperia has one of my all-time favorite cast of characters in gaming. I also want to point out that the characters from this game have such iconic designs. Every character from the main party is immediately recognizable and memorable. Now, the combat system is very serviceable and a lot of fun. I will admit the combat mechanics are not my favorite on the list today, but it is still fun. Take this along with the stellar cast of characters and the wonderful story, then it makes for one of the best JRPGs on the Switch. Number 5. Ys 8. One of the greatest series in action RPGs, and I only just discovered it with the 8th entry. Yeah, that sounds about right. Going back and playing the previous entries of this series has been incredible, and Ys 8 is without question one of the greatest action RPG game series out at the moment. The combat is addictive and satisfying. Build diversity also has potential because of the different gear you can equip your characters with and the effects they have. My boy Adel is top tier, and following his adventures through this incredible franchise has been a dream come true. Honestly, it is just proof that there's always game series out there that are still yet to be discovered by every one of us. Ys 9 is coming out on the Switch, so it's the perfect time to dive into this game. Each entry is a contained story, so you can jump in here just fine. The characters are so fun, and the dialogue in this is hilarious. So much fun to be had here, and the game's true ending took me around 50-ish hours to complete, so you're definitely going to be getting your money's worth in this one. Number 4. Trails of Cold Steel 3. Oh, you knew it had to be here. Falcom are in the upper echelon of RPG developers in my book, right up there with Vanillaware and the ever-glorious Atlas. Trails of Cold Steel 3 has an incredible combat system that ranks up in the top combat systems of all time for turn-based games. Now, there is a massive caveat with this entry because this is based on having played Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2. These games have it all. Nigh perfect combat mechanics, endearing characters that you get to see grow and mature, and a story that keeps you interested in all the political intrigue of Zemuria. I cannot express how much I love this game and its cast of characters. This series is not for the faint of heart though, because in order to see all these games through to completion, you're going to be committing hundreds of hours of gameplay. But that's why I love this. The setting and the game give you a world to lose yourself in. How many game series do that these days? There's a reason so many gamers sing the praises of this series. and I cannot recommend it enough to you. Emma Best Girl. Number 3. Fire Emblem Three Houses. RPGs have the unique ability of being able to suck me into stories unlike any other medium. I say this because Fire Emblem Three Houses has one of the most moving story routes of any video game I've played. I mentioned before with the Tales of Vesperia that I'm a sucker for stories that cover a redemption arc. The Blue Lion's route of Fire Emblem Three Houses has one of the most moving storylines that covers the horrors of war and the very real pain of those who go through PTSD. There is just no putting into words how the story routes of this game have complete and moving storylines, and the character growth and the changes that occur throughout all of them are incredible. Fans will always have that one storyline that really resonated with them, and I assure you there's one here for you as well. Now, I've gushed about the story enough, so let's cover what you really want to know. And yes, oh yes, the fishing is fantastic. Also, the combat in Fire Emblem Three Houses is addictive, and setting up those perfect attack strategy and formations are my favorite. This title is the perfect entry point for newcomers to the series, and also let me highly recommend Awakening for the 3DS after you get addicted. Gosh, I love this game. Upgrading your characters to more upgraded units and dominating the battlefield, it just makes this game well worth a pickup. Number 2. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. The JRPGs on the Switch are becoming a force to be reckoned with. The remake of Xenoblade Chronicles has taken the iconic tale of Shulk and his companions and made it accessible to a new generation of fans. The improvements and quality of life additions to this game are amazing. What I love about the Xenoblade Chronicles story is that it doesn't just flow the typical JRPG tropes. And for the record, I am a fan of JRPG tropes, obviously. But Shulk and Rein set out on an adventure for the survival of their people and to get revenge. This is just the starting point, though, because as the game progresses and the characters grow and develop, so does their mission. The love I have for these characters is unbelievable. Now, combat is very simple to approach, but offers enough depth to have fun min-maxing and honing your strategy to take on the game's super bosses. One of the best games on the Switch, and one of the greatest RPGs ever made. Before I get to my number 1 RPG on the Nintendo Switch, I want to share some honorable mentions. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Torna the Golden Country almost took a spot for me. I'm just so in love with the combat system from 2, and Torna is an improvement on the system by making it more approachable. Then it is so fun to explore all the different build options available to you. Now, the gacha system, though, can make this kind of frustrating, but I still love it. The story is an epic, and even though the main character Rex wasn't my favorite, he did eventually grow on me. Also, Atelier Ryza is a game that I am actively playing right now, and I'm falling in love with it. This is such a great introduction to the series, and I'm so excited to try the second one after this title. Lastly, I want to give a special shout out to I Am Setsuna. This is a love letter to the classic Chrono Trigger, and the soundtrack has stuck with me since playing it. Beautiful game, and I hope we can get more from the Tokyo RPG Factory soon. Now, there is debate about whether The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Astral Chain, and Dark Souls are typical classic RPGs. Yes, they are, in my opinion. However, I've given so much love to these 3 games, and I want to save them for another list, so that's why you didn't see any of those titles on here today. But just know, I'm obviously cuckoo bananas for all 3. Number 1. Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age. Well, here it is. So many incredible games for the Nintendo Switch. But if I'm pressed on the issue, then I think Dragon Quest XI is the best RPG you can get on the Switch. The orchestrated arrangement on this port is one of my favorites. The combat system is tried and true, but with quality of life refinements that make this one of my favorite Dragon Quest games. The turn-based genre is alive and well, my friends, and Dragon Quest XI is confident in its foundational combat mechanics and builds upon this to create one of the most endearing worlds in any JRPG. there can be no denying that this titan of the industry can still stand front and center. The characters in this game are the very definition of iconic and memorable. Now, I love Jade just as much as the next guy, but let's not forget who the true star of this entry is. I laughed, I cheered, and at times this game even drew some tears from me. If you have not had the absolute pleasure of playing this game, then do yourself a favor and make this a top priority. This week on Twitter, I wanted to reach out and get the community's input on what their favorite RPGs are for the Switch. I love the answers, and I want to share some with you now. At Defy026 says, Disgaea 1 complete, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Tales of Vesperia, and currently playing through Dragon Quest 1 through 3 finally. At Jin12A says, on top of the other suggestions, I recommend Labyrinth of Refrain, The Lost Child, and Alliance Alive HD. At KMO13 says, Dragon Quest 11S, it's perfect. I agree. At Jima Zaluk says, Xenoblades, Dragon Quest, and Ryza 1 and 2. At Integra76, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. At Nintendo Man, Octopath, Dragon Quest 11S, Final Fantasy VII, Paper Mario Origami King, and Fire Emblem 3 Houses. At Axantilla4, Ys 8 and Xenoblade Chronicles. Oh, and Dragon Quest 11. I almost forgot Octopath Traveler. At 128 Commodore, can't go wrong with Xenoblade Chronicles 1 or 2. Both absolutely incredible games. Also, I can't recommend Bug Fables enough for RPG fans of old and new alike. I was very impressed with it. I just want to thank you guys so much for sharing all these incredible input. There's so many games, especially from all the Final Fantasy series, including 12, that should be on this list. The Switch just has a powerhouse lineup, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of its life cycle brings us. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end of today's video. As usual, I had so much fun going through my RPG library on the Switch. I love this system so much. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite RPGs are on the Switch. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so we can keep hanging out in the future. And until then, I'll see you guys next time.